Welcome to another episode of National Divorce Talk Raw. I know it seems as though we're really zeroing in and boring down on this particular topic, but we're just trying to keep you informed of the news as it comes out. There's a massive amount of discussion about Roe v. Wade and now seceding or pursuing Cal exit because of it. There's an article, in fact, titled, "Will Roe v. Wade Bring About Cal Exit?" that's appearing in about 30 newspapers across California as we speak. So we wanted to give you a quick excerpt of something we have heard. We're not sure how much validity there is into it, but we want to make sure to cover this because we're afraid nobody else would. So we will explain in the next 5 minutes about how California could be the catalyst for the next civil war. Not hyperbole. We'll get into the realistic scenario in a second based upon something Governor Newsom just said recently and how experts likely interpret that because it's could be the same trigger as what happened in 1861. We'll see. We'll explain in just a second, but first... Okay, let's get right into it. I'm going to do share screen, show you what we're looking at and why we think what we think. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at this. So this is Australia news, and they're talking about how a Supreme Court justice was almost executed in America and how that was buried by the American media. And it wasn't just that a Supreme Court justice was almost executed. It was that the media in America didn't think it was really that important to talk about. The fact that the media didn't seem to give attention to the fact that a Supreme Court justice was almost murdered terrifies the Australians and makes them wonder if America is a country that's about to fall apart. Take a look.
The Trump, sagas, America just seems to be collapsing into two very, very divisive and different camps. Is that just us looking from afar and saying that, or do you think there's some?
It is. No, I think that's true. Sad.
So that's what the Australians are saying is, wow, they almost killed a high court judge and they can't even talk about it. That seems like a country about to collapse. That's what the Australians are saying. Okay. They had this here, and this guy says that if Donald Trump or someone like Trump becomes president in 2024, that there could be a civil war. Now, I thought it was at minute 20. I lost it, but this guy did say that. He's a well-respected commentator, and his name is drawing a blank. Anyways, this is a very famous liberal commentator, and he said Trump or someone like him comes into power 2024, likely to be a civil war. Something we've said. Okay, take a look at this. This explains a lot.
The Supreme Court's decision is already igniting a wave of legal action, altering abortion access within states. Some experts actually believe that the reversal of Roe v. Wade is likely to trigger battles among states that could be unlike anything we've seen since before the Civil War. NBC News correspondent Ken Delanian joins us now from Washington. Ken, those are obviously very big words. It's dramatic to hear a comparison to the Civil War. I mean, what kinds of legal battles are experts predicting that would sort of make them say that?
So, Morgan, we're going to have a situation where not only do state laws starkly differ, but states are actively working to undermine one another in the enforcement of those laws. So you have in Texas, it's already legal for private citizens to sue out-of-state providers who are providing abortions to Texas residents in other states. There's a fear that some states will try to criminalize the provision or the assistance of out-of-state abortions. And then you have states like California and Massachusetts already adopting executive orders or legislation forbidding their state officers from cooperating with any investigation by another state of anything abortion related and trying to forbid private lawsuits. So normally states have what's called comity, where they sort of respect one another's laws. This is the opposite. And when I spoke to legal experts about this, they said the only analog in our history is the decade before the Civil War, when Congress in 1850 passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which required northern states to cooperate with southern slave owners and their bounty hunters who were trying to go and capture escaped slaves who had gone north to the free states. But northern states passed a bunch of laws sort of making it really hard for their officers to cooperate with that. So the states did not respect one another's laws for very good reason back then. And legal experts see a parallel with what is happening now in the wake of this abortion decision.
And Ken, I mean, if Republicans win control of the White House, I mean, how might federal policy when it comes to abortion change? And similarly, if Democrats win control of the state.
Okay, so you heard that. Now let me show you this. In order to find a precedent for this situation, we need to go back 172 years to before the Civil War. As the Underground Railroad grew in size and effectiveness, Congress was pressured to act. Federal action was necessary in order to allow slave owners from a slave state to go into a free state and search and capture their slaves. The result was the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which allowed for the capture of runaway slaves and return to their owners in the slave states. It also imposed penalties on people who assisted fugitive slaves, and it went as far as to impose heavy fines on federal marshals who refused to comply or from whom slaves escaped. Although many of the free states refused to enforce the law and pass so-called personal liberty laws that were meant to weaken the federal law. So, and this comes from the Brookings Institute. The Supreme Court's abortion decision is just a beginning of the battle. And the Brookings Institute, which is a conservative think tank, is saying the exact same thing as NBC News. So if you have a legal ruling like, hey, slavery's legal. Okay. Slaves escape, they go up to the North. The North says, we don't really want to return slaves to you in the South because we don't really like your law and we think it's disgusting. But the South is able to say, that's federal law. And you don't get to not enforce our state laws. That's why we have a constitution. And the Constitution also says slavery is legal. So you're not enforcing federal law and you're defying our state laws. And it was because the South saw that the North was not willing to enforce their laws and not willing to play fairly to keep slavery around that they were agitated for the Civil War. Now, slavery was a disgusting institution, of course. But everybody signed that document on the Constitution saying they agreed to the same set of rules, which said slavery was illegal, which said slavery was legal. So, yes, slavery bad, and the South bad for having slaves. But yes, the South is right that the North did not follow the rules, broke the rules, and broke comedy. And when they started to do that, and the South started to see that the North wasn't going to follow the Constitution and wasn't going to play fair with them, even for a dastardly institution, they felt, well, we might as well get the hell out of here. And so it was the breakdown of the enforcement of the fugitive slave law, as we've seen by NBC News and by Brookings Institute, that presaged and set the catalyst for the Civil War. Now, let me show you something interesting. Here's where it all comes together. Office of Governor Gavin Newsom, West Coast states launch new multi-state commitment to reproductive freedom, standing united on protecting abortion access. Here you go. So, what is this agreement that Governor Newsom has signed with Oregon and Washington say in light of the fact that the federal government said that abortion can be struck down? Well, let's take a look. Here's the official multi-state commitment to reproductive freedom document. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Abortion's turned down. That's wrong. That's bad. What are we going to do about it? We're going to protect against this, and we're going to protect against that. We're going to protect against judicial and local law enforcement cooperation with out-of-state investigators and inquiries. We will refuse non-fugitive extradition of individuals for criminal prosecution for receiving legal reproductive healthcare services in our states, supporting patients in accessing reproductive healthcare services in our states, or providing legal reproductive healthcare services in our states, and charge our state judiciaries with not issuing subpoenas or summons in cases where prosecution is pending or where a grand jury investigation has commenced or is about to commence for a civil or criminal violation of a law of another state involving the provision or receipt of or assistance with lawful reproductive healthcare services accessed in one of our states. So right there, California and Oregon and Washington are saying, we don't care what the federal government says. We don't care what other laws in other states say. We don't care that the federal system means that we have to respect those laws. We are not going to follow the federal law, and we are not going to follow the laws of other states, and we will not cooperate in any manner. There you go. That's what that means. Let me see if I can get it. There you go. So those two things right there that come from this agreement, that come from the governor, is literally a recreation of the Fugitive Slave Act. And you just saw NBC News and the Brookings Institute say, if we have states say this is the law and other states refuse to follow it, we have to go back to parallels in the Civil War. And what happened was when those states said, I don't care what the feds say, and I don't care what your state law is, and I don't care I signed the Constitution, and I don't care that we're supposed to have comedy in order to make this union work. You're wrong, and that's evil. Well, that basically eroded the ground to the point that the South no longer felt that they should be part of the union. And so what I'm telling you is Governor Newsom literally put California in the placement of being those northern states that refuse to follow the fugitive slave law. And California is now declaring that it will do literally what NBC News and the Brookings Institute said led to civil war. Facts. Probably not going to see that anywhere in the news, but wanted to make sure that you were updated. Our governor is now taking a stance to place us directly in opposition, like the northern states who were legally wrong, although morally right, did in the 1860s. And where does this go? Well, last time it went to civil war. So what does that mean this time? I don't know. Okay. So that's it. I just wanted to knock that out. And we will have another show in a minute about how a future vote for CalExit could go. Here is a link to the short. I don't have the link. Anyways, Jason Wright, the CEO, editor-in-chief of CalExit, also wrote about how this could happen this way. Thank you, James. We always try to put together information that the mainstream media will just never bring up. Okay, we'll be back in a minute with another. How would a vote in California and Texas go for secession? We're going to directly contradict what the experts are saying by providing you way more facts and evidence, as we always do. See you in a minute.